So my name is Marilen Crump, and we're here at Art Inspired, and I'm here talking about my 10-minute presentation with PWN. I've been in business since 2000, and the main goal that I've always had is to give people empowerment through the arts. So that's why it's called Art Inspired. And I also found it to be a really nice umbrella to cover all the different skill sets that I was incorporating in there. From some of y'all already know, I teach photography and also do photography. I teach dance. And I have been doing a lot of leading and mentorship since a long time ago. When I was in college, I was team captain of my tennis team, and I was always the one that, gets called upon to help serve everybody else, etc. I don't mind, and I feel like I should continue that throughout my whole life. So it becomes really interesting when you can offer so many points of views and experiences, because then it's like I can tie in so many of other skills towards somebody else's troubles or something that they're trying to figure out as a puzzle. Since I can see different angles of it, as having served these different industries, I can put things together pretty fast. Another thing that I like to do is visualize and have vision books and vision boards for everything. So if you see stacks of magazines laying around the studio, it's because we use them. So we always tell people, if you have some you want to get rid of, bring it here, because we'll make it into a project or something else like that. Every Saturday, with that said, I teach and I do a mindset training. So it's kind of teaching, but it's also kind of like a group facilitated thing. So you can come in here 9:30 every Saturday and have a power talk with us. And it's really kind of an open forum. So there's really not an agenda per se every week that's the same. So depending on who comes to the table, we'll go over whatever it is that's on your mind. And that decision had been set ever since we decided to have our first brick and mortar facility. So that was in 2010. So prior to that, the whole 10 years, I was freelancing different places, teaching at different studios, renting here and there. And it was funny because when things started to just become busier, people would ask the question, "Where's your one space?" And I'd say, you can find me here, 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 here. And they go, no, where can I just go to the one spot? And I said, well, I don't have one spot, but I'll look into that. My husband and I were engaged at the time, and it was one of those things that you knew it was time, because there would be something that just goes a little wrong at the place I'm trying to be at. They couldn't unlock the door. Or, they had like a mix-up with the times and all these things. And I said, it shouldn't be this difficult, because it hadn't been that difficult. And then for people to ask and have that difficulty, I think in your life you got to recognize those moments, because those are the moments that actually start shoving you into the right places. And so we said, well, why not? Why can't we just do one space? So our first space was over at Victory, where the UPS store is right beside them. It's now some haircutting place, Supercuts or something. And if you look at that wall, it's very artfully colored, like it's a gray and a black wall. And so we did that that scheme for our art so that it could stand out. So they kept our color scheme, and it's funny because anytime we walk by there, it's like, oh, look, they're still there, like the proof that we were here. So we were there for a couple of years, and then we decided I needed two sides to the studio, because we had some events that we were getting tight on the schedule. And as you know, when you teach dance and all these other things, there's always like that meaty zone in the week where people want classes. It's usually after people work. And if you only have one big classroom, you can't fit anything else in there. So we were looking around, and we had gotten a space right behind that area, which is on Production Drive where Lindy is. And that was a 4,000 square foot location. Excellent to have a lot of room, but it was a little too big. And then also the parking lot was kind of tight. And if you've ever been at Production Drive, it gets kind of dark there at night. Wow. So there was a lot of things I was like, this doesn't feel, quite right yet. And then things, again, were starting to go a little wrong here and there. And feeling the push. So at that time too, we had needed another space, and so we had a little studio at Stony Run, which is near the Quaker Steak. And so we had technically the 2 spaces then, and then I found out I was pregnant with the twins. It was actually pretty good that we had that space, because I had to say to everybody, look, I'm going to restructure. I'm going to have the twins, and I can't be running around a 4,000 square foot facility trying to clean everything and do everything. And so we just scaled back, and everybody was cool with it. And I love that about our clients. And so we had the 1 classroom, very small, probably a little bigger than the room you're in right now. And we told them we're going to look for somewhere great, because what we didn't like, we had a list of the things that just weren't quite fitting in for production drive.
Was that the Quaker Loop restaurant?
They had the restaurant's there, but there's the strips right there, and our store was there, correct. So we were right underneath, like here, underneath some living facilities. And when it was time for that lease to be up, it was just perfect timing that this location was available. It had never been available because it was PS papery, and they had built it out. And it's funny because that rack right there was part of their store, and then we have another 2-tier table in the other room that was part of their store. When they were closing, I actually bought them, and I always felt kind of neat. It felt neat to me that they came back home. Like the items I got from here are back here. So this is a fantastic location for everything that we do. We do photography out there in the square, and it's gorgeous. You have tons of restaurants, so if you have to do retreats and everything, there are things available for your clients. And too, you can market to the people who live in this area. It's really, really nice. The ballroom space that we have is because we needed a big, huge square room. So if you are in the gallery, it kind of goes a little bit askew. So it's hard to dance a waltz in there. So that's why we had gotten that other facility. If you walk in there, it's just a big room with mirrors. And so you can dance all you want there. What I love about having done that kind of business where it flowed as a freelancer, and now we're managing different facilities, and we're collaborating with different people like Jazzercise and other instructors that share their talents and gifts. It is actually the utopia I was envisioning when I was dreaming about what art-inspired really meant to me. I love the Renaissance era, and part of what makes that special is you had people who were striving to learn a lot. It was all about universal learning, and that's where you got the word university. You weren't meant to major in one thing. You were there to study music, science, art, to be a gentleman back in the day. You had to know poetry and music, and you know how to dance, and you had to read, anything and be well studied, knew all these cultures and languages, stuff like that. I'm not sure where that trend ended and why people are so on to everybody else to say, why can't you just be one thing? You're confusing me with you and your blah, 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 all these things you want to do. Well, I don't understand that, because you can be a good driver and cook well, right? So or the opposite of that. You can be worse at everything. But it's your capacity to bring in a lot of experiences and also maneuver that into new talents. I mean, that's what I feel like our humanity really should be going, instead of trying to pigeonhole everybody to one category. So my mission in life is to make sure that if you're going for something, that you're fully supported in that dream. Because a lot of times, too, when people want you to go through a track that they've envisioned for your life, go to college, get married, have kids, and then retire, it's a little sad sounding to me, a little fatalistic in a way, and doesn't leave a lot of room for creative experiences. And a lot of times, too, because people are in this okay, if I get this done and this done and this done, I'm supposed to be happy. And it's this endless, reaching for happiness, where I really love the fact that sometimes I struggle, but I do it with, excitement, because I know now, having done all these things on my own and really just kind of paved my own path, that it's part of the growth, that you need that. And then I tend to also, I meet people who are looking for the direction, and I kind of say, you don't even really need to know. I just want you to try something. Let's do this thing together, and we're going to learn from it. And if we learn something, we can incorporate it in something else that maybe someone else hasn't even seen. Why do we need to copy so-and-so's and so-and-so's? It's going to be about what you start innovating in your process. Learn from good people, definitely, but take all the best parts that fit for you and start crafting your own quilt of experiences. So what if you prick a finger? So what if you mess up on that part? Cut it out and start again and do something different. I love the analogy of gardening as well. If you're digging in there and really planting different things that's going to take root, sometimes you're going to hit a rock. Sometimes you're going to have to pull that thing out and start again and plant something else different. I think life should be like that. Mm-hmm. And that's how I raise my kids. That's the best way to have a relationship with your husband too, by the way. If you both know that you're digging around, trying to do everything you can to just keep it thriving. And things come in seasons. Same thing with a garden. You can't always plant the same thing all the time. You got to start finding out what's going to make the best salad for me. It's going to be this item, that item. And don't let people come by your garden and go, yeah, I do that differently. I don't know why you would plant that. Nah. Don't listen to that. There's too much of that. There's too much critiquing and not enough people creating their own gardens. And then yet when your garden flourishes, they go, oh, can I have some of your garden? Can I have a salad for free? And you're like, maybe, let me keep growing stuff. I'll throw you a little bit here and there. But it's they could have their own garden, right? That's what I see. Instead of you asking me for mine, can I help you build yours? And if you like this plant that's different from mine, so what? I know one process, we can take in another process and let's do it, So I think that's what's exciting about Art Inspired. That's what's always been exciting about it. Now, where it's leading up to is taking that same excitement and trying to reach further. I wrote a blog yesterday about just connecting because Jackie, who's leaving, is on my mind, and she's a big connector. But also I found that, this was my year of connecting as well, because 5 kids later, the twins turned 2 earlier this year, and I felt okay, I now have arms free. What do I do with it? And so I started going back out there, and little by little I was being invited. So Kara had invited me to join PWN, serving on the board, not just observing and going, I'll just go to 1 or 2 things. I'm not going to be in a power group. I don't want to have to deal with that. And then before you know it, I'm doing a lot of stuff for the board. I'm in a power group, and then Lindy gets me to join BNI, which I always, forever, people probably can quote me for saying, don't join a BNI, because I was not for it. I really was not, because I felt I didn't see the purpose, because I was a long time ago in a referral kind of group. But, when looking back at it, what I recognized was I wasn't in the right place to connect. Mm-hmm. And so I created that judgment tone about every group like that in my head. Now, are there some groups that may not be right for you? Sure, but I think go and explore it, try it out. And I'm glad I did try out PWN, because I was right at the edge of going, I don't think I'm going to renew, because I didn't know what was it, because I only showed up once or twice. Oh. It was my fault, but I wanted to blame the organization for not getting me involved, right? But it was in a season of my life where I was nursing twins, so so I couldn't make it out anyway. But the nudge was there. Again, that kind of being squeezed into, you got to do this, and then listening to that has really led me to here. So connecting through there, and then now being able to bridge that into connecting outside of this brick and mortar into more of an online space. And I'm so glad to be able to utilize my skills of technology, and even just yesterday launching with Marisa for the programs. We're creating an online library, so it's kind of like a self-study way of learning from all the members of PWN. So we're establishing that, which is giving me confidence to say, look, I have the knowledge and the materials and the technical skills to start building my own like online system where the whole world can like utilize. So it's been exciting. So no longer is there a real radius limit to Art Inspired. I have one of my clients that I mentor lives in Singapore. It's been really cool because they are now with the time change. Before they were 12 hours exactly. It's about 13 hours difference now. It's still pretty manageable. And what I love about that is I'm helping her create a business where she's doing some virtual assisting for people in the Western Hemisphere. Because while we're asleep, she can get things done because she's awake. So the productivity is going to be like round the clock. Exactly. So her company is called the Sorter Girls, and their productivity company. It's kind of strategic in coaching her as well, because I can offer her some clients from this side of the world. And then for me, being able to reach that side of the world there's a lot of English-speaking people there. And she's Filipino living in Singapore, and so marketing through my services too in the Philippines is like another big goal and dream for me. So there you have it. That's everything in a nutshell, where my business is going, where it has been. And I invite anybody who just wants to like look at something. I'm excellent at that, to just kind of say, all right, here's my suggestions. You can take it or leave it, but know that I'm like so enthusiastic for anybody who's willing to try anything new. And, to grow even further. My hope is that you can imagine yourself at least making $1 million a year, because it's there. And if 20-year-olds are doing it with technology, you all could do it with technology. So that's my goal. Let's find your niche here, grow it, and it be amazing for someone like Yvonne to work with, because you already have an established business. Now, if you wanted to take it to that next level world, I'm your gal.